can work together to neutralize and negate their influence.
To require background checks for all firearm sales.
There was a big riot at the University of California, Davis that I happened to be caught in the middle of at a speaking event last night. We will go full in detail on that. President Biden says, well, I'm taking your guns, but I can't, but I will. And also, when did he decide he became super pro-gay marriage? All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is Wednesday, March 15th, the year of our Lord 2023. How you doing? You probably had a better day than I did yesterday. I found myself caught up in the middle of a glass-breaking, door-smashing Antifa riot, which I feel like is kind of par for the course for Daily Caller people. If you're new to the Daily Caller here, you're probably not entirely aware that this is like a thing that a bunch of Daily Caller people are always going undercover in these riots and get fantastic footage. And yesterday, I found myself in that same situation. So we're going to start off with that. Yesterday there was an Antifa. I don't even want to call them protests anymore because it just really isn't. If it's an actual protest, I'll call it a protest. This was not a protest. This was a gathering of Antifa people outside of a Turning Point USA event with Charlie Kirk. If you're familiar with the show, I've been on tour with Charlie for the last couple weeks now, going around the country saying things. We're not going around the country, I don't know, beating up people we don't agree with physically. We're saying things. That's what a rhetorical speaking tour is. But some people take huge offense to us going around saying words. So yesterday we were at the University of California, Davis, which has been known to have some problems and altercations with speakers that they don't like, the children there on campus. And I say children, not in the sense of them being young, but in the sense of them not being able to control their emotions like little freaking children. They can't handle it. So they decided to break things and tear down stuff. We kind of knew going in, we had a huge amount of security and they did a fantastic job. There's a private security company. There's lots of police there. And they do a fantastic job at protecting everybody inside the event. But that's not to say that the Antifa protesters didn't try to do everything they could. Now, what I think the most interesting part about this was the chancellor of the university. Now, we know all this stuff going into this event, but the chancellor of the university put out a 4-minute video the morning of the event saying that, I'm going to play you some of the highlights of this video. But in my opinion, he furthered the mob to more violent actions. Nothing of what he said helped at all keep the peace. And I think there's a lot of things that he said that made people even more upset and more likely to commit violence in the act of rioting. Watch this clip from the chancellor of UC Davis. This is before we even got to the venue last night. He put this video out on the university platforms, and he said some interesting things. Watch this.
Many of you have reached out to me and others regarding tonight's event, organized by the registered student organization Turning Point USA, or TPUSA, at UC Davis. Thank you for sharing your distress at a student group hosting a speaker who is a well-documented proponent of misinformation and hate, and who has advocated for violence against transgender individuals. Under UC policy, campuses may not prohibit student organizations such as TPUSA from inviting these speakers, even if the speaker's intended speech is loathsome and hurtful to me and to others in our campus community. With respect to concerns related to violence, UC policy permits denial of requests if the speaker will present a clear and present danger to the campus. Our counsel also notes that there is a similarly heavy burden for criminal prosecution for incitement of violence.
All right, so he makes sure to mention, just so you guys know, if the speaker says anything that promotes any sort of violence, we can cancel the event. So everybody be on the watch in case the speaker says anything that may possibly conceivably be taken as inciting violence. Now, of course, the president of the university says, well, there's, even though he says the speakers say very hurtful and hateful things to me, do you think that that's not going to stir the pot a little bit on your own side? But such is the mind of a woke dude who just is untethered from reality. So in my opinion, a lot of what he said, he goes on a little bit more, but I'm going to stop it just because it's a little bit long. But he says, well, the best way that we can show humiliation is that nobody shows up and they're speaking to an empty crowd. That obviously wasn't the case. A bunch of people showed up, and the event did go off, well, without a hitch on our end, but the university didn't mention any of the crazy stuff that I'm about to show you. So let's move on to that. Let's go here. So this is early on in the day. We're kind of taking us through a timeline. So earlier on in the morning, the UC chancellor puts that out, obviously stirring the pot and making people more riled up than they probably need to be on his side. And then having the audacity to say, but if you guys say anything that we conceivably could call violent, which remember too, words are violence to these morons. If you say anything that we could conceive possibly as violence, we will shut you down, and then continues to go on to, in my opinion, promote violence, which is just kind of hilarious. What did he say? He said, this speaker spreads misinformation, and then in the next sentence says, advocates for violence against trans people, which is misinformation. That's not true. Nobody has ever advocated for violence unless you poorly define the word violence and say that words are violence, which it is not. But again, just the irony is not present with these people. Anyways, here's what it looked like outside, the milling around before the actual violence committed by the Antifa people started. As you can see, a lot of their signs. We'll get to the fascist part in a second, but a bunch of protect trans kids signs, because you need to protect trans kids' ability to lop off body parts, because that's a thing that we do in our society. Watch this. So there's some commentary on here, I think. This is me outside filming the crazy people, and well, just watch this.
What I don't understand is the guy with the umbrella tries to block the signs, which I feel like defeats the purpose of the sign. Am I crazy for thinking that? I feel like that's kind of... Look at, watch. I'm going to go this way, and he's going to still with me. See, watch. Look at... I don't understand that. Why make signs? It's a waste of paper. Protect the trees. Why y'all hiding your face?
So I don't know. So basically, these bunch of people are holding up signs, and they don't want us filming them. I don't. So there's another guy like taking photos. I don't know if you can see him in the video, but he's like taking photos, and I don't know what they're using the photos for. I'm probably in some sort of woke Antifa archive. I smiled. I told the guy, "Hey, tag me. Here's my Instagram handle," and he did not reply at all. But they use umbrellas to like block their faces, I guess. So I was filming there, and you probably just saw it. And this guy with an umbrella comes. I'm like, dude, what's the purpose of the sign if your goal is to block people from seeing the sign? So there's that. Here's another little bit of them chanting, and then we'll get into the juicy fun stuff where they bash in windows, which I was standing right there. I feel like violence was committed against me. Anyways, check this out.
Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human rights.
That's that. We don't need to play. I just wanted to get you get the whole chanting of trans rights are human rights. So that was going on outside. They were blocking or at least trying to block entry into the event. Like I said, we had a fantastic police presence there. And fortunately, to my knowledge, everybody that wanted to get in was able to get in. But then things took a turn for the worse. I happened to be walking around. So we were in the big basketball arena there at UC Davis where they play their men's basketball. And there's like the lower court. And I was walking around that foyer at the top. And all of a sudden I see these crazies with their big Queers Bash Back sign closing in on a police officer. At least I think he's a police officer. I'm not sure if he's the private security or a police officer, but I'm pretty sure he's a police officer. Closing in on a police officer coming into the doors that you enter the building. Now, the doors are all locked, just because we need to lock the doors. And they're closing in on this police officer. He's pushing them back. You're going to see that in this video. And he's pushing them back as best as he can in order to get other people, private security and police, into the locked doors. And then what happens is a little bit shocking. Watch this clip.
It's like it's such
So that was my footage. I saw those people walking by, closing in on that cop. I honestly got a little bit scared, but I said, yeah, I got to film this. And it doesn't. I should have known they were going to break the glass, but in my head, like, no normal, rational person would do that. Now, before we go into kind of the more riotous parts, I do want to mention something that I think is fascinating. Now, I said we were going to talk about the whole fascism thing, too. Charlie brings this up. So again, if you're just joining us, I'm currently on a tour with Charlie Kirk, talking about freedom and all that sort of stuff. But Charlie mentioned yesterday in his speech, like, what fascist does this? Now, this particular thing I'm about to describe. I would walk out, and I wasn't able to talk to any of the rioters, but I was able to talk to some of the students. And I asked him a question like, hey, did you know that there's a Q&A at the end of this and anybody can talk? In order to get into this event, all you have to do is be peaceful. You can be a communist, socialist, Marxist, crazy person, and so long as you're abiding by the rules, you're allowed to come in. You're more than welcome. And not only that, we will give you a microphone at these events. If you have a microphone and the PA system, you are going to be exponentially louder than chanting dumb stuff with a mob full of people outside. Not only will we let you in the event and give you a microphone, if you disagree, you can get to the front of the line. You don't need to break in. You don't need to bust through windows. And Charlie brings that up, like, what fascist allows people a platform and a microphone to air their grievances? And if they have disagreements, you get to do it first. I don't know. This blows my mind. But most people don't know that. Most people, I think, when I talk to people outside, they don't know that, hey, we'll let you in. And not only let you in, give you a microphone and let you talk first if you disagree. But nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to smash. Nobody wants to defend their ideas. Look, I'm a big ideas person. If you've been watching the show for a long time, you know that. If you have good ideas, make a compelling case for them and put them up against other ideas. And if your ideas are not compelling, that doesn't mean you go get to smash windows and doors trying to break in and disrupt an event of people you don't agree with. That just means you have to come up with better ideas. Shouldn't be all that difficult. Anyways, here's another angle of that. You'll see me in this video. I'm wearing literally the exact same thing yesterday as I was at Davis yesterday. Kind of just in the fold. Watch this. Yeah. So yeah, that was mostly peaceful. Right. I just giggled at my little caption there. The riot turned mostly peaceful. And then lastly, yeah, here's the last clip of the video. Thankfully, the riot squad was able to respond quickly and blocked off all of those doors. Check it out. This that's pretty much that. Nothing crazy going on here. So yeah, it was a wild evening, and it's turned into a wild today. Now I've got to do a bunch of media. I was on Newsmax earlier this morning. I'll be on Real America's Voice later. A bunch of local radio and stuff. So it was a wild night, and you know, if you have good ideas, express those ideas in a cohesive way. And if your ideas are compelling, people will agree with you. That's literally all I have to say about the rioters. Well, I want to get to a couple of these comments because I feel like some of them are a little bit time sensitive. But I guess I'll make one more point after this. So let's see. Thalion, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. The Lion. Oh, the Lion. There we go. The problem is they're using fear, not facts, for any of their arguments. That is the case. Shoot, I had a couple other comments pulled up here. Oh, interesting. Timothy says, Jobob, you need to come to NJ. I know that's not entirely relevant to what we're talking about, but I will be in New Jersey at Rutgers University on Monday with Candace Owens. So Timothy, if you want to come out and check out there, that's where we'll be. Let's see, where are the other comments that oh, here we go. This, I'm not sure, fascists hate anti-fascists. Yes, I would say that the anti-fascists were the people in the room giving the dissenters the microphones, and the fascists are the ones calling themselves anti-fascists, which is hilarious in my mind. Gerald says Antifa and BLM are domestic terrorist organizations. Yeah, that's an opinion that a lot of people have. Because they do stuff like this. Oh, this is funny too. Richard says, why am I seeing this crap on my timeline? Please stop it. Thanks for tuning in, Richard. Really appreciate it. Let's see. So I guess the bottom line here, let me bottom line this for y'all. Sitting in the room watching the security and the police briefing happen is honestly depressing. To me, it's sad among pretty much a lot of other, a little bit angry, but ultimately, it's just sad that we need that much security for people who have an open invitation to come and talk at the event, but don't want to and therefore decide to commit acts of violence. It's crazy that we need that much security to listen to two guys say words. At the end of the day, that's what it is. A couple of guys saying words, and we need massive amounts of security because the children can't control their emotions. Honestly, it is just, at the end of the day, it's depressing and it's sad. And I honestly feel bad for a lot of the rioter people because they They are lost and confused. But that is enough of that. I jabbered on for quite a bit of time on that. I want to move on to this. We're going to go hard shift here. You know what? The shift in the show is not as hard of a shift / transition than Joe Biden made along the lines of gay marriage. Yesterday, the president sat down with The Daily Show. Look, I'm not opposed to presidents sitting down with, I don't know, Comedy Central shows that, fine, whatever, late night shows, whatever. But if that's kind of that shouldn't take priority over hard news shows. Remember, President Trump sat down for how many interviews all the time, and also stopped and took questions in front of Marine One for like an hour, like every day. But Joe Biden is not super accessible to the media unless you're on Comedy Central. So this is hilarious to me. Joe Biden's hard pivots from how he felt about gay marriage and the timeline in which he felt them. He sat down yesterday with The Daily Show. Cal Penn is the host now, a member of Harold and Kumar fame, but also was a staffer in the Obama White House, interestingly enough. Hey, people can do multiple things. That's fine. But he said some interesting things, and I want to juxtapose that with a timeline of when he said he believed those things. Watch this clip from The Daily Show where Joe Biden claims to have been, I've been pro-gay marriage since high school. And then we'll play some clips that show the exact opposite of that. Watch this.
I can remember exactly where my epiphany was.
Okay.
I hadn't thought much about it, to tell you the truth. And I was a senior in high school, and my dad was dropping me off. I remember about to get out of the car, and I looked to my right, and two well-dressed men in suits kissed each other. I mean, they gave each other a kiss. And then one looked like he was heading to the DuPont building, and one looked like he headed to the Hercules Corporation building. And I'll never forget, I turned and looked at my dad. He said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's simple. No, I'm not joking. It's simple. They love each other.
First things first, I'm calling BS on that story. Joe Biden, was born in 1942. So in high school, at the latest age, well, let's just assume that it's not the latest age. His dad still would have been driving him to high school. So he turns 18 in 1960. So in the mid-50s, his dad driving him around while he was in high school. In the mid-50s, Joe Biden claims to have seen two openly gay men just kiss and then go about their way. I'm not trying to bring up the past and how people in the United States lived and what the cultural climate was. Look, I'm just looking at historical, cultural facts. I don't even want to call them facts. What am I looking at? I'm looking at the culture as it was in the 50s. I can almost guarantee you this story is completely made up. There's no way that one, Joe Biden saw this, and that two, his dad, who would have been born in the early 1900s, and be like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally normal. No way. I'm not buying that. But let's just say hypothetically that story is true, and Joe Biden had the epiphany that he had on gay marriage in high school. And by the way, this is not me making any claims of gay marriage yes, gay marriage no. I've said this many times on my show. I have no idea why the government is involved in my marriage. I don't know why the government needs to be involved at all, but that's just me. So I'm not making any claims here. I'm just saying that, one, I don't think this story happened, and two, if it did, and that's truly when his epiphany was, how do you explain this, Mr. President?
I can't believe the American people can't see through this. We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act, where we've all voted, not where I voted and others said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman, and states must respect that.
That's Joe Biden on Meet the Press as a senator. talking about, hey, we've already voted on this. Marriage is between a man and a woman. Again, my feelings on the topic aside, he just claimed yesterday that no, I've thought this since high school. Also, just remember too, Barack Obama and Joe Biden in 2008, and I believe, I'm pretty sure, and I'll have to go look back in the archives here, but Obama ran on no same-sex marriage in his second term. I think it wasn't until like 2013, after he was reelected. Let me make sure I verify that really quick before I tell you some crazy stuff. Yeah, Obama. Okay, never mind. So it was in 2012. Obama ran for the majority of his second term in office on no same-sex marriage. It was May 2012, May 9, 2012. Barack Obama says he supports same-sex marriage. But remember, Barack Obama ran on marriage only between a man and a woman. Joe Biden, his entire political career, said marriage only between a man and a woman. And up until very, very recently, neglected to tell us about his epiphany moment. Dumb. Ryan says, remember how you also used to push for a border wall? That's also correct. All throughout the 90s, we have clips of Joe Biden saying, we need a wall. This is only a sane country would see a wall, or would want a wall. That's a lot today. I feel like I rambled on quite a bit about the riot that was beset upon me yesterday. But you know what? That'll do it. We'll talk about the gun stuff maybe tomorrow, just because I don't know. It is kind of interesting. But the whole it's wild. All of the gun stuff that Joe Biden is talking about yesterday seems like it's very dictatorial. Seems like it's probably illegal, but he's going to do it anyway, which we've seen before with the housing, not being able to evict tenants. The Supreme Court. I feel like I'm going off a rant. Basically, Joe Biden came out yesterday and talked about guns. I didn't put that clip in here, so we won't talk about it right now. But it's worrisome, to say the least. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button that's down here and the little share button, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Really, really does help us out. Also, I do see a bunch of you in the comment section. Sometimes these fly by so fast that I'm not able to. Well, most of them fly by so fast I'm not able to read them live. But to the people that dissent and watch this show, for some reason, there are some of you that really, really hate me and hate this show and watch every single day. I appreciate you continuing to comment. That really, really actually does help us out. So thank you. Very much appreciated. And we will continue on. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. You'll be able to see where we're going on tour. Like I mentioned to Timothy, next week, I am in Rutgers, New Jersey with Candace Owens on Monday. Tuesday at Louisiana State University, LSU, with Candace Owens. And Wednesday at Ohio State with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens in Columbus. So would love to see you at any of those stops if you live in any of those areas, in New Brunswick, New Jersey, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or Columbus, Ohio. Anywhere around there, would love to meet you. Come and say hi. That's where we'll be next week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That'll do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. I got to go do a bunch of media because riots are crazy. See you then. God bless America.